Friends, now let us see which all are the companies that are mandatorily required to follow IND AS in India. Mandatory application of IND AS. Okay, now to discuss this mandatory application of IND AS, we have to divide the companies into three categories, or maybe even four categories. Okay, the first one is, let's take it as bank. The companies which are banks. Then insurance companies. Then NBFCs. NBFC stands for non-banking financial companies. And the last one, others. So these are the general companies. Okay, others, general. Now I will start with bank and insurance companies. Friends, just keep in mind, banks and insurance companies have not adopted IND AS yet. Okay, why? Because any bank or insurance company is governed by its regulator. Bank is governed by whom? RBI. Whereas insurance company is governed by IRDA. So MCA has given the power to the regulators RBI and IRDA to decide when the banks or insurance companies should come into the purview of IND AS. So far they have not taken that decision. So even till date, these banks and insurance companies are outside the purview of IND AS. Whether it is a listed entity or unlisted entity or public entity or private entity, whatever be the structure, it is out of IND AS. Okay, now coming to NBFC, non-banking financial companies. As well as, I would say, for the purpose of application, I would take these two together. Except, of course, there is one small difference which I will take later. Okay, both NBFC and other general category companies, IND AS is applicable in three scenarios. Which are the three scenarios? The first scenario is listed companies or listed NBFCs. Now, by the term listed entities, we mean those entities which have already listed or those entities which are in the process of listing. Already listed or in the process of listing. Listing what? Is it equity alone? Is it equity alone? No. Equity or its debt. Okay. So the listed security could be an equity or a debt instrument. Maybe NCDs, these banks, NBFCs, so many NBFCs in India have listed their debt instrument, NCD, non-convertible debentures, in the stock market. So once you list either your equity or debt instrument, you come under the first category, listed company category. Okay, even if you are in the process of listing, then also you will have to, you will fall in the first category. You will have to mandatorily follow what? IND AS. Now, which is the second category? The second category is those companies, the general category as well as NBFC, whose net worth as per the last audited balance sheet, okay, exceeds or equals 250 crore. So NBFCs or other companies other than these two, bank and insurance company, whose net worth as per the last audited financial statement exceeds or equals 250 crore, then those companies will have to follow IND AS from this year onwards. So if the net worth as per last audited financial statements is about 250 or equal to 250 crores, then from this year onwards you have to follow IND AS. Now that is the second category. Now what is the third category? If you identify a company which needs to follow IND AS by virtue of this condition or this condition, that is the first condition, listing status, second condition, net worth threshold. So if you are required to follow, if a company is required to follow IND AS either because of its listing status or because of its net worth status or net worth threshold, then any parent or holding company or subsidiary company or associate company or joint venture company of that company should also follow what? IND AS. So, to cut it short, if A Limited is an NBFC or private limited company, or sorry, NBFC or any general company which is required to follow IND AS due to any reason, it could be either the listing status, or it could be the net worth threshold, or even mandatory application. I will come to that later. Okay, then any holding company, A Limited could have a holding company, and that holding company need not have 250 crore turnover, 250 crore net worth, or it need not be a listed entity. Still, since it is holding company of A Limited, it has to follow what? IND AS. Similarly, the subsidiary of A Limited, irrespective of the net worth or the listing status, the subsidiary of A Limited also will have to follow this. Similarly, associate enterprise, associates of A Limited, and the last one, joint ventures of A Limited. Okay, so once a company is within the purview of IND AS, holding company, subsidiary company, associate company, and its joint venture, without any threshold or listing status, have to follow IND AS mandatorily. Now friends, why do you think this requirement has been made? Okay, why they say that, okay, if you are a listed company, your parent or your subsidiary, your associate, your joint venture should also follow IND AS. Why can't keep the requirements separate for both subsidiary and parent, or associate and joint venture? Because in IND AS or even in IFRS, if you see, the concept of group accounting exists. Group accounting. What is the concept of group accounting? In group accounting, you give focus to the group. And this group consists of what? The group consists of holding, subsidiary, associate, and JV, joint venture. So, if an entity operates as a group, then you have to prepare what? The consolidated financial statement, CFS. Consolidating the financial results of all the entity. Okay, and that CFS can be prepared only if all these constituents, that is holding company, subsidiary company, associate and joint venture, prepare its financial statements in IND AS or as per IND AS. Okay, so to cut it short, if there is a group and this group has a parent company or holding company, then it has got a subsidiary, or it has got associate, it has got a JV, joint venture, and any of these entities is required to follow IFRS, so or IND AS, either due to its listing status or its threshold status or voluntary adoption. Then all the entities within this group should also follow what? IND AS. This is what is known as group application of IND AS. Group application of IND AS. I hope that is clear to you. Okay, and these three conditions are common for both NBFC as well as other general public companies. Now, let us come to the only difference between NBFC and others when it comes to application of IND AS. What is the difference? The difference is, in case of NBFC, you are not permitted to voluntarily adopt IND AS if you have not exceeded the threshold. Whereas in case of other entities or other companies, you are permitted to voluntarily adopt IND AS. So voluntary adoption is permitted in case of non-NBFC companies, whereas it is not permitted in case of NBFCs. NBFC can follow IND AS only if it is mandatorily required to follow by virtue of its listing status or by virtue of its threshold or by virtue of its group structure. Otherwise, no. I hope that is also clear to you. Okay, so this is the summary of applicability of IND AS. Now in the coming lectures, we will take this applicability in detail and we will see what are the exceptions, what are the details about each provision, like that. Thank you.